Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Nishit Kumar and with me is Prashant Kumar Sinha with the evening news. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on test, track and treat strategy to be adopted to win over COVID-19 pandemic. Centre asks states and union territories to ensure that movement restriction imposed by them does not adversely impact the vaccination exercise. Night curfew imposed in Tamil Nadu and Bihar in view of surge in corona cases. Railway says it can set up 3 lakh isolation beds across the country on states' demand, all set to run oxygen express train to transport liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders across key corridors. 162 pressure swing adsorption oxygen plants sanctioned for installation in public health facilities in all states. Production of antiviral drug remdesivir to be doubled to nearly 3 lakh vials per day in the next 15 days, says the government. Nation registers over 2,61,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. More than 12 crore 26 lakh COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Election Commission bans BJP leader Sayantan Basu and TMC leader Sujata Mondal from campaigning for 24 hours in West Bengal. JEE main entrance exam for 2021 postponed till further orders. In World Youth Boxing Championships, 5 Indian boxers advanced to quarterfinals in men and women category in Kielce, Poland. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 38 runs in Chennai. Another match underway between Delhi Capitals and Punjab Kings in Mumbai. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard, take all precautions and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has emphasized on test, track and treat strategy to be adopted to win over the COVID-19 pandemic. Reviewing the status of COVID-19 in his parliamentary constituency Varanasi through video conferencing, Mr. Modi stressed on contact tracing of infected persons and providing test reports at the earliest. During the meeting, Mr. Modi asked for information about testing, beds, medicines, vaccine and the manpower engaged in Varanasi for prevention of corona and proper treatment of corona-infected patients. He directed the officials to provide all possible assistance to the public at the earliest. During the discussion, the Prime Minister emphasized that 2 gaz ki duri, mask hai zaruri has to be followed by everyone. He also emphasized on the importance of vaccination campaign and said that the administration should make aware about it to everyone above 45 years of age. He also asked the administration to provide all possible assistance to the people of Varanasi with full sensitivity. The Prime Minister said that as a representative of Varanasi, he is constantly taking feedback from the general public. He said that the expansion and modernization of medical infrastructure in Varanasi in the last 5 to 6 years has helped in fighting corona. Mr. Modi said the availability of beds, ICUs and oxygen is being increased in Varanasi. In view of the pressure with the increased number of patients, he also gave special emphasis on the need to increase efforts at all levels. He said that just like the Varanasi administration rapidly set up the Kashi COVID Response Center, the same speed should be in every task. The Prime Minister expressed his gratitude to all the doctors and medical staff of the country and said that even in the time of this crisis, they are following their duty faithfully. The Prime Minister also praised the NGOs of Varanasi who worked with the government. He stressed the need for greater vigilance and caution in view of the situation. Public representatives and officials of Varanasi region informed the Prime Minister about the preparations made in the area for protection from COVID-19 and treatment. Mr. Modi was informed about the control room set up for contact tracing, command and control center for home isolation, dedicated phone line ambulance, telemedicine arrangement from control room, and deployment of additional rapid response team in urban area. During this video conferencing, Ministers of State Neelkant Tiwari, Ravindra Jaiswal, MLA Surendra Narayan Singh, MLCs Ashok Dhawan and Lakshman Acharya, MLC and COVID in charge of Varanasi A.K. Sharma, Divisional Commissioner Deepak Agarwal, Commissioner of Police A. Satish Ganesh, District Magistrate Kaushal Raj Sharma, Municipal Commissioner Gaurang Rathi, Chief Medical Officer Dr. N.P. Singh and Director IMS Banaras Hindu University Professor B.R. Mittal were present.
The centre has written to states and union territories to ensure that movement restrictions imposed by them for COVID-19 control does not adversely impact the vaccination exercise. Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Dr. Manohar Agnani, has written a letter to Additional Chief Secretary, Principal Secretary and Secretary of all the states and union territories. They have been advised that COVID-19 vaccination services should not be affected by COVID-19 curfews and lockdowns and the movement of beneficiaries to and from COVID-19 vaccination centres. Dr. Agnani said COVID-19 vaccination centres, which have been identified as dedicated COVID-19 hospitals, should continue providing uninterrupted COVID-19 vaccination services. He said vaccination services should be provided in a separate building or block in these hospitals that is distinctly separated from the building where management of COVID-19 patients is being done. This will ensure that beneficiaries of vaccination are not inadvertently exposed to COVID-19 at these hospitals. India's vaccination drive against COVID-19 crossed another milestone with the administration of more than 12 crore 26 lakh doses within 92 days of the world's largest vaccination program. The Health Ministry has informed that in the past 24 hours, more than 26 lakh 84,000 doses of COVID vaccination have been administered in the country. Our correspondent reports that after Prime Minister's clarion call for maximum and best utilization of health resources in the country, the number of total COVID vaccination centers have increased significantly. The number of vaccination centers in the country increased to over 60,000 from nearly 45,000 earlier. The nation commenced the largest vaccination drive in the world on the 16th of January this year with vaccination of healthcare workers first, widening the scope of vaccination from the 1st of this month. Under the current phase, everyone above the age of 45 years is being vaccinated. The Health Ministry has informed that so far more than 10 crore 63 lakh people have received the first dose of the vaccine, whereas nearly 1 crore 61 lakh have been fully vaccinated with both the required doses. The nation registered highest surge in COVID cases with 2,61,500 new cases. The number of total active cases in the country further swelled up to nearly 12.18% of the total reported cases. 10 states, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat and Kerala continue to be the major hotspots of the pandemic. Nearly 80% of the new cases are reported from these 10 states. In the past 24 hours, 1,501 COVID-related death was reported in the country, taking the cumulative toll to 1,77,150. Currently, over 18 lakh people are reported to be suffering from the viral pandemic and are either hospitalized or under home isolation, with a special focus on the 5-point principle of test, track, treat, isolate and vaccinate. The number of cumulative COVID-19 testing has surpassed the figure of 26 crore and 65 lakh. In the past 24 hours, more than 15 lakh 66,000 samples were tested for COVID-19 in the country.
In the backdrop of soaring new COVID cases, the Tamil Nadu government has announced several new restrictions that come into effect from coming Tuesday. They include night curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. every day. Road travel, including public transport within and interstate movement, will be halted during the night curfew. Full lockdown is imposed on all Sundays. Exemption is given only for emergency and essential services like ambulances and travel for medical purposes and transport of LPG cylinders, milk and newspapers. More from our Chennai correspondent.
The Plus 2 state syllabus board examinations have been put off until further orders. Dine-in facility in hotels and restaurants on Sundays are barred, though parcel services are allowed during limited hours in the morning, noon and evening. Food parcel delivery services through e-commerce are permitted. Media is given exemption from public movement restrictions. Famous hill resort towns, beaches, archaeological centers, museums and beaches are declared out of bounds for tourists. IT firms have been asked to permit a minimum of 50% of their staff to work from home. All retail outlets and tea stalls have been asked to curtail the number of customers by half at a time, and they are allowed to function only till 9 p.m. College classes and examinations will only be through online mode. Meanwhile, the new COVID cases in Tamil Nadu have exceeded 10,700, the highest ever since the outbreak of the pandemic. Jai Singh, AR News, Chennai.
Kerala imposed new COVID restrictions as the state recorded its highest single-day surge today with 18,257 new infection cases. Our Thiruvananthapuram correspondent reports that RT-PCR test has been made compulsory for people coming to Kerala from other states.
RT-PCR test made compulsory for people coming to Kerala from other states. The test need to be done 48 hours prior to the travel and is mandatory even if the person is vaccinated. 14 days of room isolation is compulsory for those who had not taken the RT-PCR test. Everyone travelling to Kerala from other parts of the country and from abroad need to register in the COVID Jagrata portal. Meanwhile, on account of worsening COVID scenario in the state, all the university exams scheduled to be held from tomorrow is postponed and the authorities had informed that the new dates will be announced later. The entire state is presently under strict COVID restrictions. Over 108,000 samples were tested in the last 24 hours. The test positivity rate is 16.77. Meanwhile, 25 more deaths was confirmed due to COVID today, taking the death toll to 4,929. There are presently 93,686 active COVID cases in Kerala. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar today announced to impose night curfew across the state from 9 to 5 in the morning with immediate effect till May 15th in view of rising COVID-19 cases. Mr. Kumar said essential services have been exempted from it. He said this decision has been taken at the Crisis Management Group meeting. Schools, colleges and educational institutions have also been closed till May 15th. Examination of schools and colleges have been suspended. Shops will be closed from 6 in the evening. An order has been issued to close religious places. Shops, malls, gym, halls and parks have been closed. Marriage ceremony with 100 persons have been allowed. 25 people will be allowed in the funeral procession. Government and private offices will be open till 5 in the evening throughout the state. In Maharashtra, as the COVID-19 cases are on the rise, the medical and healthcare sector in the state is undergoing tremendous pressure. The demand for beds has also increased manifold in Mumbai city. At this crucial juncture, the Brihanmumbai Municipal Corporation BMC has decided to use additional beds as private hospitals for COVID-19 patients. Our Mumbai correspondent reports, currently 80% of beds in private hospitals are reserved for the treatment of COVID-19 patients.
According to the Mumbai Civic Body officials, in the coming days, the demand for beds, especially with oxygen, ICU and ventilator support, may be increased as cases are rising unprecedentedly. Considering this, the assistant municipal commissioners have been directed to keep a track of the beds in their respective wards. Also, as per the needs, they can also start the process of taking beds from the private hospitals. Earlier, the civic body had decided to convert Jaslok Hospital into fully COVID-19 facility. However, it said that 175 beds will be used for coronavirus patients, while rest will be used to treat critical ailments. Meanwhile, the BMC has directed all the deans and medical superintendents of its major hospitals and jumbo COVID centers to curtail all their routine clinical work until the positive COVID cases in the city does not reduce substantially. Moreover, the BMC has also directed them to avoid unnecessary transfers of patients to major hospitals and have cancelled all leaves of the hospital staff, which include childcare or long leave. Nivedita, AIR News, Mumbai.
The Railways is geared up to run Oxygen Express train to transport liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders across key corridors. The availability of oxygen is a key element in the treatment of certain medical conditions in COVID infections. The Railways Ministry said Green Corridor is being created for fast movement of these trains. Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra governments had approached the Railways Ministry for transportation of oxygen cylinders. More in this report.
The Railway Ministry said a meeting was held between Railway Board officials, state transport commissioners and representatives of industry yesterday on the issues related to transportation of liquid medical oxygen. During the meeting, it was decided that the tankers will be organized by Transport Commissioner, Maharashtra. These empty tankers will be moved from Kalamboli and Boisar railway stations in Mumbai and sent to Vizag station in Andhra Pradesh, Jamshedpur and Bokaro in Jharkhand and Rourkela in Odisha for loading of liquid medical oxygen tankers. Railway Ministry said a movement plan has been made for dispatching 10 empty tankers tomorrow. Rail Minister Piyush Goyal has said that Railways is leaving no stone unturned in the battle against COVID-19. He said the Railways will run oxygen express trains using green corridors to get oxygen in bulk and rapidly to patients. Anita Anand, AIR News.
The Railways can set up 3 lakh isolation beds across the country on state's demand. In a tweet, Railways Minister Piyush Goyal said that 50 COVID-19 isolation coaches with 800 beds are ready at Shakur Basti station and 25 coaches will be available at Anand Vihar station in Delhi. Earlier, Northern Railway General Manager Ashutosh Gangal had said that 463 COVID isolation coaches across its network are available on demand from states. Talking to media, he said that the Railways has already written letters to Chief Secretaries of States where these coaches can be deployed. He said any state can approach the Railways. He said these coaches are primarily meant for isolation and also for very mild cases if required. Mr. Gangal said these coaches are not meant for serious cases. He said each isolation coach has 2 cylinders and if more are needed, the state government has to arrange it. He also informed that the Railways will not charge anything from states for COVID isolation coaches as Union Health Ministry guidelines have no provision for levying fees. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on test, track and treat strategy to be adopted to win over COVID-19 pandemic. Centre asks states and union territories to ensure that movement restrictions imposed by them does not adversely impact the vaccination exercise. Night curfew imposed in Tamil Nadu and Bihar in view of surge in corona cases. Railways says it can set up 3 lakh isolation beds across the country on state's demand, all set to run Oxygen Express train to transport liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders across key corridors. 162 pressure swing adsorption oxygen plants sanctioned for installation in public health facilities in all states. Production of antiviral drug Remdesivir to be doubled to nearly 3 lakh vials per day in next 15 days, says the government. Nation registers over 2,61,000 new cases in the past 24 hours. More than 12 crore 26 lakh COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Election Commission bans BJP leader Shayantan Basu and TMC leader Sujata Mundal from campaigning for 24 hours in West Bengal. JEE main entrance exam for 2021 postponed till further orders. In World Youth Boxing Championships, 5 Indian boxers advanced to quarterfinals in men's and women's category in Kielce, Poland. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 38 runs in Chennai. Another match underway between Delhi Capitals and Punjab Kings in Mumbai. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Welcome back. Health Ministry has said that 162 pressure swing adsorption PSA oxygen plants have been sanctioned by the Government of India for installation in public health facilities in all states, and these will augment medical oxygen capacity by over 154 metric tons. In a tweet today, the ministry said out of 162 PSA plants sanctioned by the centre, 33 have already been installed, 5 in Madhya Pradesh, 4 in Himachal Pradesh, 3 each in Chandigarh, Gujarat and Uttarakhand, 2 each in Bihar, Karnataka and Telangana, and 1 each in Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Delhi, Haryana, Kerala, Maharashtra, Puducherry, Punjab and Uttar Pradesh. The Health Ministry said states have appreciated installation of PSA oxygen plants in their public health facilities. It said in addition to 162 plants already sanctioned, they have requested Government of India for more than 100 such additional plants which are also being sanctioned. Production of antiviral drug Remdesivir will be doubled to nearly 3 lakh vials per day in the next 15 days. Informing about the decision, Minister of State for Chemical and Fertilizer Mansukh Mandavia said that the centre is committed to ensure affordable availability of the drug. Remdesivir has shown to have effective results in better recovery of critically ill and hospitalized COVID patients. He said currently 20 manufacturing plants are engaged in the country in manufacturing the antiviral drug. Mr. Mandavia said that another 20 manufacturing sites have already been granted governance approval, and they would soon add to the existing production capacity of 150,000 vials per day. The minister asserted that due to centre's active intervention, the major pharma companies have significantly reduced prices of the Remdesivir brands. Former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh has written a letter to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi in connection with corona pandemic. In his letter, Dr. Singh has said that the key to our fight against COVID-19 must be ramping up the vaccination effort. He said one must not look at absolute numbers but the total percentage of population vaccinated. Dr. Singh said at this moment of public health emergency, the central government must proactively support vaccine producers to expand their manufacturing facilities by providing funds and other concessions.
Amid surge in COVID cases in the national capital, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has requested central government to reserve 7,000 beds in Delhi hospitals managed by the centre. In a letter written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi today, Mr. Kejriwal said that due to increase in number of COVID patients, the requirement of hospital beds and medical oxygen has also substantially increased in the capital city. He requested the centre to reserve 7,000 out of total 10,000 beds in Delhi's central healthcare facilities for COVID patients. Mr. Kejriwal also sought the centre's assistance to fulfill the requirement of medical oxygen at the healthcare facilities. The Chief Minister thanked the centre for its incessant and timely assistance to the local administration in order to put up a brave fight against the corona pandemic. Senior officer of the Indian Information Service, Narendra Kaushal, passed away following COVID-19 infection. He was admitted to Rishikesh AIIMS Hospital. Narendra Kaushal served in different departments of the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, including All India Radio, Doordarshan, PIB, ROB and RNI in senior positions. The National Testing Agency has postponed the April session examinations of the joint entrance exams JEE Main for the year 2021. In a media release shared by Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, the NTA has informed that the decision to postpone the examination has been taken in view of the present situation of COVID-19. The JEE Main April session was scheduled to be held on the 27th, 28th and 30th of this month. The revised dates for the examinations will be announced later with prior notice of at least 15 days before the exams. JEE Main, one of the most sought-after examinations for engineering aspirants in the country, is scheduled to be conducted in 4 sessions this year. 2 of these sessions have already been completed in February and March.
The election campaign in West Bengal for the 6th phase in 43 assembly constituencies spread over 4 districts has reached a peak. Union Home Minister Amit Shah addressed a public rally in Purba Bardhaman district. He charged that the illegal immigrants are taking away the benefits meant for the Indian citizens in West Bengal. The Union Home Minister also held a roadshow in Nadia district today. He claimed that if the BJP is brought to power, insurgency will be eliminated. TMC leader and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee addressed a public meeting at Barakpur and Khardaha in North 24 Parganas today. She took on the central government and charged that the Modi government has failed in controlling the COVID pandemic. More from our Kolkata correspondent.
As the summer heat tries to match electoral campaign-generated heat, the political parties hit the campaign trail in the sixth phase with unwavering grit and determination. The defender and the challenger are equally trying to score a point over others, engaging the voters through speeches, roadshows and block-level meetings. Two principal challengers in this contest, namely the TMC and BJP, are communicating with the voters about their strengths and about the weaknesses of others. TMC is speaking about the 10 years of its rule in West Bengal and that it being the regional party. BJP is talking about the problems of insurgency in the state and how the people of Bengal are deprived of the central government schemes. The mood of the voters can be gauged only on May 2nd. Sudhindra, AIR News, Kolkata.
The Election Commission has imposed a ban of 24 hours on the BJP leader Sayantan Basu and TMC leader Sujata Mondal, during which they will not be allowed to campaign during the ongoing assembly polls in West Bengal. The ban period will come into effect from 7 p.m. today to 7 p.m. tomorrow. The ban was imposed as the Commission found the remarks in violation of the Model Code of Conduct MCC. Warning Mr. Basu, the Commission strongly advised him to desist from using such statement while making public utterances during the period when the Model Code of Conduct is in force. This Election Commission said it is of considered view that Ms. Sujata Mondal has violated Model Code of Conduct through her remarks, which could cause tension between different castes, thereby adversely affecting the election process. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi has cancelled all his public rallies in West Bengal in view of the prevailing COVID situation. Making the announcement to suspend his Bengal rallies through a tweet message today, Mr. Gandhi also advised all political leaders to think deeply about the consequences of holding large public rallies under the current circumstances.
In World Youth Boxing Championships, 5 Indian boxers advanced to the quarterfinals in the men's and women's category after scoring comfortable victories in their last 16 stage bouts in Kielce, Poland. Among the women, Geetika made it to the last 8 yesterday. From the men's contingent, Asian silver medalist Ankit Nadwal, Bishwamitra Chongtham, Sachin and Vishal Gupta stood just a win away from ensuring a medal for the country. India has fielded a 20-member contingent, 10 men and as many women, in the competition, which features 414 boxers from 52 countries. In IPL cricket, Virat Kohli-led Royal Challengers Bangalore defeated Ian Morgan-led Kolkata Knight Riders by 38 runs at the M.A. Chidambaram Stadium in Chennai this evening. Chasing a massive target of 205 runs, KKR kept losing wickets at regular intervals and could not build a winning partnership. For KKR, Andre Russell 31 and Ian Morgan 29 were the top scorers. The RCB lost capital Virat Kohli's wicket in the second over of the match, but Glenn Maxwell with 78 and AB de Villiers with 76 runs guided their sides to a decent total of 204 runs. Meanwhile, in the second match of the day, put into bat first, KL Rahul-led Punjab Kings PBKS were 159 for 3 in 16.3 overs against Rishabh Pant-led Delhi Capitals a short while ago at the Wankhede Stadium.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi stresses on test, track and treat strategy to be adopted to win over COVID-19 pandemic. Centre asks states and union territories to ensure that movement restriction imposed by them does not adversely impact the vaccination exercise. Night curfew imposed in Tamil Nadu and Bihar in view of surge in corona cases. Railway says it can set up 3 lakh isolation beds across the country on state's demand, all set to run oxygen express train to transport liquid medical oxygen and oxygen cylinders across key corridors. 162 pressure swing adsorption oxygen plants sanctioned for installation in public health facilities in all states. Production of antiviral drug Remdesivir to be doubled to nearly 3 lakh vials per day in the next 15 days, says the government. Nation registers over 2,61,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. More than 12 crore 26 lakh COVID vaccine doses administered in the country so far. Election Commission bans BJP leader Sayantan Basu and Trinamool Congress leader Sujata Mondal from campaigning for 24 hours in West Bengal. Joint entrance examination main entrance exam for 2021 postponed till further orders. In World Youth Boxing Championships, 5 Indian boxers advanced to quarterfinals in the men and women category in Kielce, Poland. And in IPL cricket, Royal Challengers Bangalore beat Kolkata Knight Riders by 38 runs in Chennai. Another match underway between Delhi Capitals and Punjab Kings in Mumbai. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.